Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And today I'm going to be talking about printing comics, and some of the different ways you can go about it, whether it be offset, digital, uh, print on demand, or even doing it yourself at home. The reason I'm commenting on this is because I watch a different channel. The guy's name is Clint. The guy's awesome, and he has a channel called Sweetcast. And I guess something went on in Twitter where Peter Simeti, publisher of Alterna Comics, he had an issue, I guess, currently with his printer, and something went wrong. And he's no, I guess they're not going to be printing his books anymore. Who knows? Maybe their press exploded. Who knows? But someone had suggested that he go ahead and buy a home printer and print the books himself. Now, this is very impractical. I was going to play Clint's video. I'm not going to do that. I don't really think it's necessary since I'll just explain it all myself. But Clint's an awesome guy. He sure as heck doesn't need my help to promote his channel, Sweetcast. Guy does a great job over there. But what I want to talk about is printing. So I'm going to take Clint off of here. Right? And here I have a bunch of my books. These are books that I printed over the years. This book, Tall Tales, right here, this was printed by Brenner Printing. Let's check the year. In 1993, so this was done a long time ago. This has a red foil stamping on the cover. And this was offset printed. Some decent white paper. And even after all these years, you can see the paper's still white. It holds up very well. Okay. Now, the thing with this is that if you look at it, I don't know if you can pick it up entirely. I looked at it through a loop. And one of the things that I see is how crisp the lines are. Okay, and that's very important. And this is a printer's loop. I got this when I went to printing school a long time ago, and this was just something they gave us, and I still have it, and I'm happy I still have it. It's an awesome little thing. You can buy one of these, I'm sure, $10-20 on Amazon or whatever. But you would just take this and you would just look, and you can see how crisp these lines are. Okay, now let me set that to the side. This book was printed in 2001. Now, this was also printed by Brenner, and this is printed on newsprint. And same situation, you can see, when I look through the loop, I can see how crisp the lines are. Okay, so this is all offset printing. Okay, and this is one of the things that offset printing really offers you. Crisp, very clear printing, and very high volumes for the printing. Okay, all these books were printed like this back in the day, like this. Okay, but as time went on, technology improves, and what we end up with is digital printing. Okay, and that's what we have today. Now, these two books, okay, one was printed offset, one was printed digitally. Now, Clinton said he would be able to spot the differences between one or the other. Now, between whether it was printed offset or digitally. Now, the thing is it has nothing to do with, or I should say it has everything to do with the quality of the printer that you're using. Also with the file prep, and also with the finishing. Okay, because the thing is you can have a book that looks professionally done, and it can be done in someone's house. You just have to know how to go about it, and have the correct equipment to go do it. Now, if I was to show you this book, you can see has very, very nice, dark, crisp black printing. Okay. And again, when I look through the loop, there is a little bit of a difference, okay? but you can see it's nice and crisp. It's nice and dark. These lines, this black, is very, very nicely filled in. Okay, you can see that. Now this book, it looks, in comparison, it looks a little bit washed out. It's not too bad. These lines are nice and crisp, right? When I look at the loop. And this is the difference. This book was printed digitally. This book was printed offset. Both from digital files. It has a lot to do with this. Like I said, it was printed on a traditional press. When I did these, we did about 1,000 of them. We sold out a long time ago. We ended up printing a bunch more digitally because we had a contract with the guys who did this for us, and we were getting them relatively inexpensive. It really didn't cost us much. But that's neither here nor there. But the one thing I do notice here is the lines, when you really look in on it, the lines aren't as crisp. Okay, there is some jagged edges to the line. And that has to do with the way the files rasterize out, the program that's used to send the information to the machine. The programs have improved immensely over the years. This was printed on a Docutech. It's a very old technology from Xerox, probably from the 80s, possibly from the 70s. But it's a very solid, proven technology. This stuff works, and when it's done correctly, should be indistinguishable in black and white from anything you would get from an offset printer. Indistinguishable. There are offset printers. They use these for their proofs. That's how good this is. The only difference is the bindery system. It's just completely different. Okay. So, like I said, you can see how crisp these are in comparison to this. Because the difference is with this, once those machines are running, they would have already had to set the values on the black, on the ink. Whereas with a digital printer, they can print one, look at it, and they can say, okay, we can adjust this up or down and, make, certain judgment calls as to how deep we want the blacks. And that's the big difference. Okay, so those two books. All right, now, moving on. We have these two books. This book is in black and white. Okay. And this is the first issue to the Oswald Chronicles. This is my first day, but it just looks like your standard comic book. It's printed. I have a 12-point cardstock cover, and the interior is just done on regular black and white paper. This one, very similar, except this one's in color. This one's done on I think a 32 or 28-pound laser paper. Okay, so as you can see, it's in full color, right? And I don't think it looks too bad. I think it looks actually quite good for what it is. These two books I actually put together myself. I bound these, I cut these. Now the thing is though, is how I cut them, how I bound them, is perhaps a little bit different than what some people are thinking. I use a professional guillotine cutter to cut these. I use I actually forgot the name of the cutter, but yeah, it was a professional guillotine cutter that I used to trim these. And I actually took these to a FedEx office, and what I would have them do is I had these printed off on high-end digital printers. I had all the material come to me, I collated it together, and I would take these and I would trim the top and the bottom of these books, right? The other thing I would do is I also score all of these books. I have a scoring machine. I would go in and I would score them all right in the center. So you get a nice fold here without any cracking, okay? So that's important if you're going to do that with a cardstock cover. And what I would do is just put them together. I have what's called a Plockmatic 3000, which is a binding machine. Basically all it is. It's a big saddle stitcher. It takes them, it puts the staples in, and then it folds it for you. And that's what this does. And it makes it look very professional because it's very consistent. And it is a professional machine. I actually inherited the machine from someone who was throwing it away from a bindery. So that's how I got mine. All right, so that's that. This book were printed, I believe, this is the print I'm currently using. I just got tired of putting together my own books, and I'm actually happy I started using this guy. He's page by page printing. You can find him on Facebook. The guy's awesome. And he prints on, I believe, a Konica. So I don't know what model, but the thing is, you know, the machine does awesome work. This is a really, really good looking book. And this is all, again, this is digitally printed. That goes for this as well. All right, so that's that. And this is a color book that he printed for me. I was just doing a test. And again, it looks great. This is a book that I also did on my own. And again, just to show you, I know the company that printed these printed on a Xerox Docutech machine, because you can just tell. And the thing is I can tell that the technology has gotten better, because the lines in this book is much younger than the other book I showed you. So what we're getting is cleaner lines. So the lines are much cleaner now. So that's actually a huge improvement. And I think that's a pretty snazzy looking book. And if I show this to most people, that they're not able to tell whether or not I did these books or not. But as long as the blade is nice and clean, yeah, okay. The cutters call it Titan 5000. That's actually what I use, or what they use over at FedEx office to trim these for me. And I literally trim the top and the bottom. I fold them in half, and what I do is I take clamps and I clamp usually about 10 books together, and I make sure they're flush all together, and then I have them trim this edge. Okay, so everything is trimmed at the same time, so it looks more uniform. It looks professional when it's done. This is also another book that I've done. You know, putting these together. And again, you can tell, nice, crisp. The grayscales are really nice. This was done by my guy, page by page. And these are in color. Again, these look really good. And like I said, he's using digital technology, so there's nothing to be afraid of. The books can look professional. It's just a matter of your file prep and a matter of the finishing that's involved. And he uses, you know, professional finishing equipment. And that's all that matters when it comes down to that. Now, these two books, both of these are printed digitally. Now, I think the big difference between the two of them is this one I got is, as you can see, is an omnibus. It's huge. It's 540 pages. It's 20 issues of Tall Tales. About 20 years worth of work in there. And it's a really good looking book. Okay. Now, but when I look at this one through the loop, I see it's not as clean as probably as I would like it to be. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that this particular printer is not using a Xerographic technology. They're using a newer technology which was developed by HP. I don't know the name of it exactly. You can feel free to look it up on Google. HP developed a technology where it's an inkjet, and it produces, I believe, 770 or at least 700 ppm per minute, or ppm, which is prints per minute. So this machine runs ridiculously fast. Docutechs, which run very fast, I believe the fastest they go is about 220 prints per minute. So when you're talking about 700 prints per minute, you're talking about 3 times as fast. It's incredible the amount of printing they can do in such a short amount of time. But the only thing is that it doesn't give you, the print quality isn't as clean. Okay, this one I know was printed on the Docutech, and when I look through these, it's very clean. You know, once in a while you get a little spotting, but that can have something to do with stuff that's, you know, gunk that's on the drum, you know, all sorts of things. But it's very, very clean, as opposed to this, you know, like there's a little line here, and that's actually how I know that this technology was used, because it's literally spraying the thing, and it's once in a while you get these random lines. It happens once in a blue moon. It's nothing really to be too concerned about. It does tend to be a lot cheaper than this technology. So that's why I think some printers are moving to this technology rather than this technology. The book still looks great, so, you know, it can be forgiven. These two books are hardcovers, and they're also done. See, but this one is a little bit older, and I think they used Docutech for this. And that's why I was looking for any. Yeah. Because they switched over. I remember from one year to another, I printed this book, I don't know, probably in 2013, and this one probably in 2015, and there was a huge shift, and they had changed the way they print these things, and it had gone from, you know, from a Docutech to this other system using HP technology, which is, again, like I said, just a giant inkjet. So now the final book I'm going to show you is this one. This is from a printer called Mixam. It's mixam.com, and I have to say, these guys really impressed me. I just saw them, someone had suggested them online. I said, okay, well, let me try them out. They have good prices and excellent quality. When I look through this, it's the interior is black and white. When I flip through this is very clean. I don't know what equipment they're using. I'm pretty sure if I went on their website, I could probably find out. But I don't know what. Yeah, it is really clean. You know, the text, there's hardly anything in there as far as like random dots or anything. It's very, very clean. Just what I want to see. The darks, the blacks are nice and rich, very dark. You know, you can, I mean, just look at that. That's gorgeous. Just the way that's done. So, yeah. This is definitely, I think, a company that's just using very modern equipment. Some of the newest ripping technology for this sort of thing. So, just to recap, this stuff can be printed. I wouldn't print it in your house with a home printer, unless you just want to go through the process. There's some people, you go to some of these indie shows, and they're people who print the stuff out in their houses, and they put the staples in right at the show. Sometimes they bind the stuff with twine. And however you want to do it, it's all good. You understand? It's art. You can produce it and package it however you want. If you want something that looks a little bit more professional, you're going to have to, you know, deal with some of these printers. Photoshop, Illustrator, you name it. You'll have to work in you know, InDesign or one of these other programs to get you to this end. But however you want to go, there's definitely options. If you want to produce a large print run, you're going to be, you know, dealing with a larger printer. Larger costs in the overall. I mean, per unit, you'll get smaller prices. You get lower prices, but you're going to end up with $2,000-$3,000 or however many bucks. Now, as long as you're not storing this stuff, you've already sold it. Let's say you've done a Kickstarter, you sold a couple $1,000. All right, great. You can just push them out. But if you sold, I don't know, let's say you did do a Kickstarter and you raised some money. And you're like, okay, I want to get this professionally printed, but you sold 500 copies, and maybe to get the best price break, you have to print 2,000 books. You might want to consider where you're going to store 1,500 books. It's a lot of books. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. And, you're just going to be, sipping drinks off of these books. You're just using them as coffee tables or whatever. They take up a lot of space. If you don't have the space, if you have a small apartment, might not be the way to go. If you own your own house and maybe have room in your garage, the only thing I can suggest is getting a pallet, putting it on the floor, weather treating it, and make sure when you get the books, you wrap them nice in plastic and make sure no critters get into it. Just keep it nice and dry. And it doesn't, I would also suggest cool. Heat never is good for these things, but you take what you can get in those instances. If you want to go digital, the one good thing about digital is that you can get smaller runs. So if you if you do a Kickstarter, you only get 200, 250 pieces, whatever. You can print that, and you can just print a few extra. Probably print an extra 10% on the order or whatever, 15%. Keep that on the back for if you want to do some shows. And at that point, you just can move forward. But the one good thing is you can always go back and just reprint. Personally speaking, this is how I've been going over the last few years. Haven't had a reason to just need a huge batch of books. Sometimes it is tempting. A name I mentioned earlier, Peter Simeti, does Alterna Comics. He's talking about doing, offset books, and he can get you. Well, I don't know how it's going now because he lost his printer or something happened. I don't know. I hope the guy works it out. He's a good guy. And what he was talking about was doing Alterna printing. And you can piggyback on his print runs, and you can get like 500 books printed, I guess at 50 cents a book, which is a pretty decent price. Plus, I guess he also had some other additional costs. But I think you could probably get 500 books for like 300, 350 bucks, which really isn't bad at all. It's about 65 cents a book. And I think he was talking about 32-page comic, full color. The only thing is it was printed on newsprint. So there were certain things you have to be very careful with the way you set up your color. If you're doing black and white, you probably don't have much to worry about. But again, it's relatively inexpensive to go like that. But you will end up with 500 books. And that can sometimes be a hassle in storage. Although 500 books really isn't that much, just 2 or 3 cases. But if you're going to print a couple thousand books, that can be a bit of a thing, especially if you're looking at trade paperbacks, hardcovers, that sort of thing. If it's just an individual comic, get 2,000 comics, might be like 10 cases, maybe 15. Depends how thick the book is. Something you can stack up in a closet, keep in storage, that sort of thing. But it does get expensive if you're going to rent storage for it. So, if you have any thoughts, any questions as far as printing, who do you think you should go with, that sort of thing. And if you need even a big print run, I know of certain print brokers who can really help out with that sort of thing if you need some advice. So thanks a lot, guys. If you like what you heard, please hit the like button, subscribe button, leave any comments, and share the video. And if you really want to help out, check out some of my writing, some of the stuff I showed off here today. I currently have an Indiegogo for the Oswald Chronicles. For the first 3 issues, I have some alternative covers running. And all I have to say is thank you. Have a great night, guys. Take care.